Well, just a few days removed from the final major championship of the season, a weekend that was dominated by EA1. We are back on the LPGA Tour of Korea for 4 more rounds of excitement, and we have quite the treat for you this week, live from the Iksan Country Club. It is one of my favorite events of the season, especially because we are playing Stableford Golf. If you are new, I will explain the scoring system to you shortly, but first, of course, you are very welcome to the 2023 Dongbu Construction Korea Land Trust Championship. My name is Adam Jenkins. Thank you so much for joining us on what is a cloudy afternoon, 25 degrees with a wind at 3 meters per second. You might have already figured it out, but I'll remind you, look at the top right corner of the scorebug in the corner of your screen. We're counting points this week because this is Stableford scoring. It essentially changes the traditional scoring method by rewarding good scores, aggressive play on holes. Here's how it works. Pars don't change your score. Bogeys, you lose 1 point. Double bogey or higher, doesn't matter if you're 2 over par or 10 over par, you lose 3. Birdies get you an additional 2. Eagles are worth 5, and an albatross is worth 8. It is a week where you want as many points as possible to take home the 180 million won prize out of the 1 billion up for grabs. 108 players in the field. Tee shot from the blocks to the rough on the par 5, recovering back into the fairway. Lee Young trying to defend the title that she worked so hard to win in 2021. Here's Cho Ayeon on the 14th. She's at 4 points. And she goes all the way off towards the trees at the back. Of course, Park Young, who is always a spotlighted player. She certainly was last week in the major championship. She had a really nice recovery round on Sunday to push back up towards the top 10. Look at the money list through this point in the season. Already the second week of October, she is 7th after a 16 million won payday last week. She patiently waits her turn at the teeing ground. She's also tied for 8th in the points with Lee So-mi. You see a nice short tap in to pick up a nice haul of points. We have 4 players at the moment sharing the lead at 8 points. Lee Ji-hyun 2, Lee Ji-hyun 7, Kim Na-yeon 2, and Kwon So-yeon. Green light for Park Young. Teeing off at number 10 and slightly left of the fairway. We play the east course on the way out, the west course on the way in. 6,724 yards combined. 66.82 in the final round. It's the 28th competition of the season. Mata Som, she is at 3. Lovely drive down the middle. +2 is Kim Min-byul. That is a race that is certainly becoming all the more interesting. She, of course, still looking for her first professional victory. It's a relatively disappointing week 4 and a really nice round, well, nice 4 rounds for Hung Yoo-min, who closed the gap to about 198 points. Chung Yoon-ji's approach at 10, her third to about 6 feet away. And now we go to 13. Lee So-young disappointing 79. She just couldn't put it really together over at Blue Heron, despite starting the tournament quite well. 72 was an 81, just made the cut. Couldn't really recover. She finished tied for 55th last week. G1 tied for 35th at the major and drops that in with expert precision. High pitch from off the green will get a roll to about pin high. And Pang Xin didn't have much yardage to overcome there. She is able to get up in 3. Looks like the clouds are starting to make their way out of view on what is becoming an amazing Thursday afternoon here in Iksan. Second shot at 10 for Park Young-yeong. Able to return to the fairway with her second shot. And Mata Song. Hybrid in hand. Dribbles its way alongside her teammate. Machine Shield now for a birdie, working its way downhill, but just losing the line at the end. Still just the 2-point garnering holes thus far, as we see a nice birdie. Be a +2 to boost the score. Ijumi birdies for the first time since hole number 3, tied for 23rd. Exquisite read of the break. Jung Yoon Ji has some positive points now after dropping on the way to a 37 on the way out. And Hung Ji-won goes to +6, just a birdie back of the lead now. 4 in a row for her after a tough start. Bogeys at 4 and 6 on a great little run. Choyon to save a par. She'll be easy to pick out with that new hairstyle of hers, and she's picking out a par to avoid dropping points. And a nice up at 10 from Park Young-young, finds about the center of the green. Kim Min-byul, just a 74-meter short pitch. Just on. That glances through the fringe. And Soyeon Jung, 109, and she is going to get stuck just before the putting surface, despite a little bit of wind at her back. And Hung Min spoke earlier of her brilliant performance in the final round on Sunday. She is just a birdie off the lead. The next group to come through. Hole number 10. Just 3 birdies for Peng Min-ji on the front 9. She, of course, looking to bounce back in a big way reflecting upon her major championship last week. A 77 in the opener put her off the pace, but she was able to work back into a top 20 finish. She certainly will be someone to keep a close eye on here. Lee Ji-hyun 7, she picked up a birdie towards the end of her round. She shares top spot with Kim Na-hyun 2 at 10 points, though the latter still with 3 holes to play. This is the Dongbu Construction Korea Land Trust Championship. Great to have you aboard. We'll take a break and be back with more at Iksan. Welcome back. Here's Kim In-byul. Tricky one a little bit further out than would have been extra conducive to birdieing. We fast forward to 14. So-yeon Jung from just inside the fringe. It was always going to be a 2-putt. Par for her, still in search of her first pickup since number 7. Groan of agony from the gallery as they watch that one go missed. G1, it's an 8-iron at 11. Gonna get a helpful little roll. Somme. This would take her to 5 points and halve the deficit to the top. Catches a piece of the cup, but not enough to drop. Onwards to Pump Machine Schiller, second at 11. She's off to the left. Kicks her over into the rough. She went pin seeking. Flag is just 5 yards from the fringe. We don't often see her come up short. She can swing that club. 5 wood works really well for her. Now he's so young. Her turn to approach at 14, and she curls that inside the shadow of the flag. Kim Na-yeon too. She pars the 16th. That leaves her with 2 holes to try and create a bit of separation. Any birdie would see her take over the lead. Lee Ji-hyun 2, Che Ga-bin, and Kwon So-yeon tied for 3rd at 8 points. Chung So-yi and Kim Min-sun 7 tied for 6th at 7 points here in the opening round of the Dongbu Construction Korea Land Trust Championship. Welcome back to Iksan, just about 2:30 p.m. local time. The action heating up. Hung Yumin will be able to make that with her eyes closed. I think she kept them open just to be sure, but back-to-back birdies, now 4 on the day. She is just 2 points off the lead. And now right to left, but braking too quick and running out of speed for Hung Ji-won. Settles for a par, stays tied for 9th. This will have a little bit of right to left break. Shouldn't be one that troubles Lee So-young. And doesn't. So, but the Stableford scoring. She goes to her 5th birdie of the day, tied for 7th with 7 points. Bung-Shin Shil settles for par, stays at +4. Frustrating one for Bang Min-ji. She came close. Birdies at 1, 4, and 6, all pars the rest of the way. And Mata Som, that's an errant approach. She's long and she's left. Got a camera down there when we can, but what we know is that's not going to be a fun second shot on the par 3. And pitching wedge for Kim Min-byul. From the rough on 11 and makes the situation worse. Nose dives into the sand. Nice up. And Hung Yumin's gone left. She knew that right away. A really nice birdie. Say look out to the camera operator, and that's not going to be particularly pleasant, methinks, for the rookie. Min-ji marching off, lost in the fairway. It looked, based on her reaction, that was mishit. Opened the hands a little early.
자.
From an unenviable position, back up onto the green.
그루를 처음 알았다고 하더라고요.
And starting to move, but not in time. Well, shot herself in the foot a little bit on the tee shot, and it ends up costing her. Young finally getting the green light to go ahead. She's going to be in the first cut of rough right off the tee. Follows suit with Iga Young moments before. And the parade through number 10 continues. Of course, she has been one of the stars of the season thus far, Park Ji-young. Second in both the money and points list, but she is trailing by some margins. Brilliant week at the major. Park Ji-young, meanwhile, outside of the top 25 with an 80 in the opening round, and then had her work cut out for her the rest of the way. Kim Soo-ji's ready to attack. And she gets hung up before the green. And Park Ji-young, the downhill effort. This looks good. Oh, how has that stayed out? A revolution shy of a birdie, and even she has to laugh in a bit of frustration at her luck at the minute. Third for Lee Dae-yeon, 73 meters from the rough. Bjelstern standing over the hole. Par once more, just not really able to stabilize. She could not have asked for a better start to the round with 3 birdies in the first hole, but a bogey and double bogey undermining that progress. And Minji on her second goes between the 2 greens. Of course, we're playing the left today. Hung Yumin from the other side of the cart path just has to lay back up into the fairway. We got Young, meanwhile, from right to right. She continues just to skirt the perimeter of the fairway. And the A1 quietly at 2 points halfway through her round. And a ping of that 5-wood. Unable to stay in the fairway from Park Ji-young. Hung Yumin has to be accurate. This is the shot that should have been a birdie putt. Never in doubt. G1 saves her par 12. Stays at 6 points. Decent little effort from just off the green from Eugenie at this point. You see her struggling to really make a push outside of the top 50 only with 1 point. Punching Shield picks up 2 more to go, tied for 9th.
그렇지, 나이스.
It's a really nice pickup for her. She is certainly finding a lot of success with that putter. Promising start to this 4-round event. And now this from betwixt the greens from Pugman G to about 4 feet for a par. Settling into a nice rhythm on this Thursday afternoon, inching towards the evening. ENG the 2023 Dongbu Construction Korea Land Trust Championship. First time playing as a senior member for Hung Yumin. Just to save a par. And she just hears that rattle and relief, I'm sure, the emotion. Stays on the podium and avoids bogey through yet another hole. Again, just didn't quite get the bite on that. Just gonna have to work for the birdie to put her into the positives. Good par save for Pengman at 11. Well, how much of that did we see last week? Every single round. EA1 certainly made it interesting, stumbling her way into the win, but she had more than made it a comfortable Sunday with an especially excellent end to Saturday, including an eagle we won't soon forget. Is a major champion, just like Park Young is a two-time major champion. From the rough, her approach at 10. Leaves that rather short. You understand why we're seeing a few of those with the pin placement today, so close to the front fringe. Doesn't make it any less disappointing, though. Kim Bial. Oh, that's nice. Maybe 3 meters and a fairly level putt for a birdie that she so desperately needs. Probably hardly make out the pin from that tree blocking her vantage point. That is no bueno again. Hung Yumin is not having a great go of it off the tee. Making the last few shots of the hole much more difficult. She loves a challenge, but she's going to have to straighten out that tee shot. Park Jung has cut up their ball at 10. This is her fourth, has to be close. Nice little backspin. How about in the hole? Fractionally off from using the flag stick as a backboard. Now Pengman once again with driver. Right down the middle. G1 had a lot to do from off the green. Glove comes off. She'll be hoping it's a simple tap in par. I believe that's just the provisional. She should be able to find it and finds the fairway second time through. I'll be curious to see how this hole develops for her. There's a putt with a lot of distance to make up and a lot of break to go with it. Very well judged on the speed. Liga Young will be destined for a par. Sheet Shield, that was a look at birdie, but is short. Park Ji-young needs this to avoid dropping one. Recovers in time despite interesting route to the hole. At her birdie at 2, bogeys at 5 and 8. She stays at 0 points. Long way back. Here comes the break. A little bit too much speed. Will go all the way and stop at the border of the fringe. Here's Ida on at 11. Skirts the fringe, find its backside instead. Maybe one that's frustrate Mata Som, but she avoids consecutive bogeys. She's tied for 44th through 12 holes of play. That is just when you think she's starting to fade out. Park Ji-young delivers a brilliant putt from the fringe to stay at an even neutral 0. Kim with a birdie. First since hole number 4. She goes to 4 points. Ji bounces about 10 paces on the green and stops not too far beyond. Now Hung Yumin has indeed found her tee shot and is not going to need that provisional after all. Certainly not so easy from the pine straw. We'll rejoin her in a moment. In the meantime, here's Iso Mi. Nicely played, just past the fringe, exactly where she needed to be. little punch. Playing that quite like a putter stroke instead, knowing she couldn't risk any loft. Well, a very wide green welcomes Kim Min-byul to its right side. Excuse me. Hung Min, just as she had to do one hole ago. Has to be close from the rough. And we don't often see her play short. That is the unfortunate outcome, nevertheless. So as we near the end of our opening hour of this opening round of the 2023 Dongbu Construction Korea Land Trust Championship, see the wind start to pick up slightly. And Kim Na-hyun, too, has just one hole remaining to take the outright lead. Otherwise, she'll be splitting it with Lee Ji-hyun 7. But will it survive the next few hours? That's seemingly increasingly unlikely, especially with the push from Hung Yoo-min and Chae Ga-bin. We'll be back to Iksan in just a few minutes. Welcome back. Hung Yumin is going to hopefully be straightening out that tee shot because it's going to cost her a couple of points here. One of them, most likely. Peng Min-ji for birdie at 12. Here comes the break. That looks good. It's going to go for. Now from the fringe, does it have the speed? Yes, the line unfortunately slightly off. Lee Daeyeon still with 4 birdies on the day. She's tied for 3rd.
Whoa.
Kim Min-byul, a long way over.
쪽에서 보니까 한 여기까지는 약간 올라가는 느낌이 확실히 있어요. 반대쪽에서 보니까.
And Hung Yumin, that is the bogey. So down to 7 points. First drop off of the day comes at number 12. Bogey as well for Kim Min-byul to 3 points. Her second bogey, also with a double bogey on the day.
들어가겠습니다. 핸드폰 누르지 말아주세요.
Shield. This takes her to +8 if it drops. Hangs up just and only just outside. Waited that extra second to see if it would change its mind, but alas, not to be. see if she can turn a little bit of that magic with the putter into some momentum. It's much better for Hung Yumin, much more like we've grown to expect. She doesn't look particularly thrilled with this, but she's going to get a fortuitous bounce. That could have and probably should have been a lot worse, but she hits a tree trunk. Well, it is final, and it's actually a bogey at the last for Kim Ni-yeon too. So she finishes in second position. Lee Ji-hyun 7 at 10. The score to beat Che Ga-bin, Pang Min-ji, Lee Da-yeon. They all seem like likely candidates to dethrone her by day's end. We'll step aside and come back with more from Ik-sun at the 2023 Dongbu Construction Korea Land Trust Championship. playing at Stableford Golf this week, and we are off to quite the start. Peng Minji had a chance to make it back-to-back birdies. She is a birdie away from the lead, but she'll settle for a par here. And Idayan just skips that on to the front of the green. The scramble to get back as a birdie takes her 1 point off the top with plenty to go. We've seen this outcome a couple of times. Not fun. Kim Min-byul compounding a mistake with another. Didn't ask for much more precise than that. Struts out of the rough, knowing that she reached. Good tee shot, a great approach. That putter can stay hot. She'll finally be in the positive points. This time, 5 wood for Hung Yoo-min. She goes along the perimeter. Dayon for birdie at 12. Songju 147 6 iron from less than ideal spot, and she's almost able to work back up in spite of that. back left that approach goes. Moves that to about 4 feet. 108 players in the field, and the opening round, the action comes thick and fast. Crisscrossing, of course, largely the west side of the facility now. 13th tee, 8-iron, Ida Yun. Birdie takes her into a share of the lead. Bill suddenly finds herself in a position where she has to have this to avoid another bogey. She's had far too many of them for her liking in the early stages of this tournament. Unable to do it. So to 2 points, back-to-back bogeys. But Jung with the 48-degree wedge. Can't strike a ball better than that. A couple of feet away, it'll be the simplest of putts. Young. And just pushed it. It's a frustrating one.
하겠습니다. 멈춰주세요.
She's trying to figure out how this is turning into a 3-putt situation. Montes zone bogeys for the second time on the back nine. She's down to just the 1 point.
네, 하겠습니다. 살짝 뒷바람.
Minji, sigh of relief. Tough one from the rough. Done. Ige Young, it's a birdie for the first time today. Good kickstart to the final 5 or 6 holes. And Hung Yumin. 76 meters, 58 degree in hand. On 14 here, she wants to be about middle right. Surprisingly, didn't get backspin. Usually has no trouble making that club work for her. Gonna do a half-hearted practice swing to try and immediately diagnose the issue. Young, birdie to 3 points. Hung Yumin is only 1 point off the top. Che Gabin, Pang Minji, Lee Dayan, Kwon So-yeon, just a birdie back of Lee Ji-hyun's sevens mark of 10 points in this Stableford week at Iksan. this a recovery mission for Hung Min. The first shot predictable. Drama comes with the next. Been enough drama for one day already for Kim Min-byul, hoping for a much calmer ease into the finish. 4 holes to go, only 2 points. Now Bung Min-ji putting uphill into the wind. Strikes it well. The reaction from the caddy says it all. Still has a few more holes to go and get that bird. Stays tied for 5th. That's a big time putt, obviously. A bit of disappointment for Kim Soo-ji at the end of the week. At the major, finishing as the runner-up. That birdie this week, this day, takes her back to essentially even par. At least it's Stableford equivalent. Bung Shin-sil pitching wedge on the final par 3 of her day. Gets it nice and high and rolls it. Might just roll that a little too far. The uphill slope will take off the rest of the speed. Hardly let that ball stop. She knew she was going to need a second swing. It's a bogey sandwich with a birdie in between, so ends up being a net 0 in her last 3 holes. Crossing away all the way to the right green. He's so young. Takes just 2 strokes for her to find the back. Now this would be the lead. A 5-point pickup if she can eagle. Her line was right on the money. Just a little short. Pitching wedge on 16. Yeah, that's going to scoot off and not be able to stay on the green. Second shot for Bak Young-kyung from the fairway. We'll watch that be just a touch short. It's the delightful thing about Stableford. In a traditional scoring system, bogeys and birdies are worth the same. Might make you a little bit more risk averse. Not here. You can trade 2 bogeys for 1 birdie. It dares you to go for it. And we've seen some of that today for sure. And on 15, just 2. The fringe. 18, Sheehan Sol, her approach on the par 4. And this is going to be a perfect little roll. It's her 4th shot after a bit of misfortune off the tee and just about prevented herself from losing points. But it should just be a drop of 1. Driver in hand for Hung Yumin. 361 meters this par 4 15th. Bill ends the bogey run. That's the good news. Shield remains bogey free, but she's birdie free as well the last several holes. G1 trying to save a par on 16. Nicely executed. That is 6 from 6 after birdieing number 10.
하겠습니다.
G took that extra second. You could tell she was trying to be right on the fringe or just beyond it. Have to go for a little pitch or a chip from off the green. Soyeon Jung. That would have been for a share of third. It's a bogey-free day. Birdies 6 points. It's tied for 13th. Back to 15, just past 110 for Hung Yoo-min. Oh yeah, that's right on the money. Couldn't ask for much better. Vantage point on 16, looking down Park Young-kyung's tee shot. Gets a bit of a push down the hill. Still have her work cut out for her, however. Also glancing just off the front and getting a little roll. Next up, Kim Min-byul. Side of the green for her, unfortunately. That is the nicest of the lot. Can't find faults with really any of those approaches, but you can certainly pick the best. Kwon So-yeon, who is through 13 holes, playing on the front 9 now, teeing off at 10. She finds herself in a share of the lead with 5 to play, and some company for Lee Na-hyun 2, 1 back. We're getting closer to the end with about an hour to go, and lots still to be shaken out here at Iksan. So Idaeon, this was the effort from about 15 feet away. Seemed like it was always going to be 2 putts. Almost certainly the same description for Kim Min-byul. And now Hung Yoo-min, she is now a co-leader. Should surprise no one. In fact, it doesn't really surprise anyone. Still has some time to take the outright lead. Young, meanwhile, just hasn't been able to find consistent putts. Not playing poorly, but not taking advantage of the opportunity that lies in front of her, at least in the opening round. It's a good thing that this is another 4-round competition. We have a few of those on the bounce. Back-to-back on the way in, and Lee So-young, a fellow Lotte teammate, will be the leader for the time being, but Hung Yoo-min is on the prowl. Let's see what she's able to muster up with this tee shot. Off towards the back, that is fairly common. Kim Min-byul was the last to be in that position of the green.
저 어제 여기서 뭐 쳤어요?
G next to attack. Her teammates, her group mates shield the sun so they could see where it lands. She'll be quite happy with that. It looks awfully different now, doesn't it? Lee So-young with a birdie at the last. What a run-in she had. A 1-point advantage. Hung Yoo-min on 16. Kwon So-yeon with 4 holes to play. We might see a score as high as 14 points before all is said and done today. And a return to Stableford on the LPGA Tour of Korea. Winner this year is the 2023 KLPGA We Made Point Award. 20 million won up for grabs, and then the top 60 players will be awarded with some NFTs. You know, it's 2023 when our awards are moving into the digital space. Cool little initiative. EA1 leads that particular race. Well, her co-lead was about 10 seconds in duration. Be much, much longer if she can make this improbable birdie. And she goes 270 degrees around and pops out. Day on 8 iron, her approach. Don't forget about her, by the way, in this home stretch. G, always a delicate balance downhill. Let's take a peek at 17. Unlike last week, the par 5 is the penultimate hole, 263 the drive. Leaving 183 to go. Let's see how tempted Peng Xin is. She went for it. She's rewarded with it. That'll be for eagle. G settles for a par, stays faultless. 2 holes to go. Grip and rip, taking out a good chunk of the remaining yardage on the par 5. One's approach 78. Gonna set up a bird, and she will almost certainly have it. Look how close she was to dunking that. The divot maybe 8 inches to the left of her target.
Okay.
No complaints with that shot. Perfect spot in the fairway to plan the attack.
너요. 이모가 허락을 안 해서 춤추시는 분이 근데 네가 선생님 춤추 않아?
No doubt Ida wanting to be closer, because that will be the par rescue putt suddenly. So reminder, the Eagles worth 5. If the rookie can have the biggest shot, the biggest putt of her day, she would be sharing the lead. Still with 1 hole to play. Let's listen for the sound. We're not gonna see it. Not quite. Eagles the most interesting putt in this sport, because you know you're about to score, but you can still be disappointed that you're not scoring more, especially when it's a 3-point swing, 2.5 birdies worth.
살짝만 지나가게 넘겨. 바깥쪽으로 보면 속도가 이렇게
Well, she'll have time to recover if she doesn't have it, but in the idea of the round, this is a huge, crucial putt. It is executed marvelously. Ida Yan saves the par, but she is still in search of that birdie that's eluded her since number 10. That was the same case for Hong Ji-won, who finally has hers, goes to 8 points with 1 hole to play. So Hung Yumin and Kwan So-yeon are the two we turn our attention closest towards. Hong Ji-won will head to 18, 3 back. Chega being 2 holes to play, 3 back as well. 2 hours in the books here in Iksan. We'll be back with more with about 30 minutes to go in this opening round of the Korea Land Trust Dongbu Construction Championship. Well, it is a picture-perfect day here in Iksan. Clouds are gone, the sun is here to stay, 24 degrees. What more could you ask for the second week of October? You can be a little bit greedy when you're an athlete competing for the 180 million won. Because for Park Young, it's been the story of her season, if we're being as fair as possible, as realistic as possible. She is a player who wears a lot of responsibility as an ambassador, as a star, but just like the other 107 players in the field, she wants to win. And this season it has been elusive. Today, the birdies have been elusive. 16 holes through, all pars thus far. 3 times a runner-up in agonizing fashion this season. The Tucson match play, Mediheal Hangugobo Championship as well. And the Hana Financial Group Singapore Women's Open last December. She is so close to taking that top step again. Right now, she'd just like to get back into the top 5. She hasn't done that since this time in August. We'll break to show you the par 5 17th, nearly half a kilometer long in distance. Fairly wide and welcoming fairway. Not too much to worry about from that perspective. 200 to 240. The average, the long hitters though, well, they can go for it. We've seen a few players do just that today. Slight dogleg as the hole meanders around the trees. 2 wide bunkers, one on the left, one on the right. The pot bunker as well, defending the right green to which we are playing this week. Our pin, as we've seen on multiple occasions, past 2 hours and change, 5 yards from the right fringe, only 8 yards off the front. And you think about just how kind this hole can be, rewarding the long hitters. Players will know what's at stake. Hang Yumin can absolutely launch. She was cleared to launch with a great drive to start the hole. Next up is Peng Min-ji. Of course, she is split some of the time between the KLPGA and the LPGA. She is still the K rankings leader for that sustained body of work. The success of EA1 is certainly closing the gap. And this is what made Park Young roll her eyes a little bit. Finding the sand, trying to blast it out, but gets stuck on the fringe. Can't fault her for not being brave enough. She tried to reach into and can't even get there in the 3. It's the cruel part of this game sometimes. Back to 16. 9-iron for Lee Dae-yeon off the tee. We haven't seen many. That is the perfect point to land your tee shot. A little uphill roll, and know that you are right there in search of a birdie. That's almost a slam dunk for her, which will move her to a tie for second. Back with group 29, Ki Min Byul. She can chip this in for eagle. It's a little bit to our right of the hole. She'll have the birdie. She'll go to 4 points net on the day.
진짜 애매하다.
She took her time to try and get her read. Matassom leaving a little bit off. A couple of birdies, though, certainly. And now Chunye Sung on her final hole of the day. Yes, a birdie. Expertly marked 3 in the last 4 after only having 1 birdie to open the hole. It's a great run in to the clubhouse. And now Pak Young putting from the fringe. That would have been her birdie, but she knew it was right almost instantly. And knowing what this putt means, as she begins to think about what tomorrow might look like and how it might look better with a couple last birdies, maybe overthought. Now Ida Young, she has just 3 greens to go. She only needs 2 birdies to take the lead. This could be one of them. And she's got it. She has been absolutely lights out today. Not a single bogey on that scorecard, and 5 birdies now, heading to 17 next. Now Hung Ji-won. Couldn't get that to sit, couldn't get that to bite. She is all the way even beyond our camera tower. I can't say she's not consistent. 17 holes and 17 pars for Park Young. Peng Xinxiu right at the pin. She should see 10 with no problem. So Namata Som suffers a bogey. To 2 points, she drops. Four bogeys now on the round, tied for 47th with 1 to play. Kim Yoon-bill, she was agonizingly close to an eagle. 3 feet, 2 points, on to 18. Peng Min-ji, 5 wood off the deck. The second on the penultimate hole, and she's just gonna get on. On the wrong green, though. And I know this is interesting, it's different, especially if you don't follow the tour, you're unfamiliar with Iksan. She's gonna get free relief from it because obviously she's not going to be playing a wedge from a green. So she'll get the free relief back into that little stretch between the putting surfaces, and she'll play her next from there. Isomi could have been in a heck of a lot more trouble if not for the tree actually helping her out there by keeping her around the fairway. You mean reaching for that little extra, loses the handle on the follow through. She's gone right and into the thick grass. Not much to really change the leaderboard drastically, but a couple more players at 10 points, with around 3 holes to go for those in contention. 4:15 local will step aside once more. Be back with more at Iksan. categorize this in the oh no bucket. Yumi needs a weed whacker as much as she needs a golf club. Probably thought a bit too much loft with her first selection. She's kind of needing to just punch this out, but doesn't want to top it either. That's fine. She didn't have many other options. The bright side is that's a fairly level putt that she will be facing. From the rough, this knot is perilous, and it's evident that where that chip ends up. Up and down should not be an issue for Isomi. Initial effort on number 15, or number 18, excuse me. And Peng Minji is making sure she has the restart procedure in order. Puts a pin, excuse me, a T in the general path of where the ball would have come onto the green. Just making sure everything's done properly as always. Meanwhile, on G1 needed that to save her par. Disappointing end to an otherwise really nice day. 3 bogeys, 5 birdies, and 7 points collected on this opening round Thursday. She'll no such problems. Back-to-back bogeys to finish it, tied for 3rd at the end of Thursday. Now that the restart procedure is taken care of, G with a dart. Steps in to finish with a birdie on 17. She too will have a chance to try and tame the incredibly challenging 18th, which is precisely what Peng Xin is figuring out right now. 142 to the pin. Can afford to be a little bit left as it's going to roll back down towards the middle. to be patient while Peng Minji took care of her business. Now the former tries to do the same. Little left to right break. Slightly overhit. And never gave it a chance. So Mi goes to 5 points with that simple tap-in finish. '18 is where we will bid farewell to our lovely Thursday afternoon. Tee shot is uphill. Little bit of a fade is just what would set up the excellence that could be. 357 meterage, 120 to the front of the green, 280. That's the average, but the pin proving to be no easy thing to accomplish. It's again uphill to the left green. You know, the triangular shaped first bunker, the pot bunker on the left, and the pin in this opening round. What's never the sound you want to hear off the tee. Big ricochet off the tree trunk and left to wonder where it went. And that is absolutely lovely for Ian Biel. An up and down day that will feel much better thanks to consecutive birdies. To say farewell to Thursday, and we'll be hoping for fewer bogeys tomorrow afternoon.
바람 있으면 여기서
Driver in hand. There's no way to pick up just 1 point. So a birdie would give her the outright, but she doesn't look satisfied with that drive, and that's because she's well off in the rough again. Avoids the worst of it, but she's not making it easy on herself, is she? Dayan trying to reach and trying to avoid the sand, but failing to do so. It's not going to be a straightforward exit. This, why not save it for the very end? 17 pars leading up to a birdie for Park Young at the last. It'll be a smaller point total than she would have hoped for, but you celebrate your wins.
더블짝 가운데로 가면 살짝 우측도 괜찮고.
Young, just the one birdie on the day for her as well. She has 2 to go. Grip and rip and a solid start down the fairway. Park Ji-young, she is level, but it has not been a straight and level kind of day, a la Park Young. Tees off on 17 at 0 points. We have the 2 last groups to make their way in as the sun gets increasingly low in the sky above the Iksan Country Club. Has gone on and taken the lead from Lee So-young. Unfortunately not able to follow her around as she has the new score to beat that Peng Minji, Hung Yumin, and company will try to match on 18. Welcome back. It is nearing on closing time. Lee Dae-yeon playing her recovery shot out of the rough. This the same for Hung Yoo-min. Lee Dae-yeon from the sand. Now Hung Yoo-min from the rough. And she just avoids a sand trap of her own, perched up above it. Bung Min-ji, only 72 meters to go. How precise can she be with this wedge? Gotta use a little bit more power on that swing, but not a bad effort. Lee Dae-yeon somehow gets up and down out of the sand and becomes the co-leader and has a chance to take that lead all to herself. From 3 on 18. Cuts the remaining yardage to about 6 meters. Hung Yoo-min on that first effort.
그러면 스피드 나쁘지 않을 것 같아.
그러니까 약간 이렇게 많은
그러면 가능. 스피드 나을 것 같아. 그냥 어차피 뒤에 가도 공간이 많으니까. 너무 놓칠 필요 없어. 그냥 너 그냥 방향 소리 좀 쓰고 있잖아. 그 느낌이 쓰는데 그것도 괜찮으니까. 근데 이유만을 위한 거지. 그치.
Bung Min-ji, the last putt she hopes. She's pulled it. Well, considering what the case was a week ago at Blue Heron, she will be elated with this. Much closer to normal from her, but a bogey to dampen the day. 9 points is where she finishes T7. This is going to be quite the interesting next shot. Lee Dae-yeon, after a remarkable sand save, kind of let that momentum fade. Trying to save a par at 18. Similar situation to Bung Min-ji. She's overcooked this. trying to not rush through the motions. It ends the day with a bogey as well. So 9 points, her score, tied for 6th. 3 bogeys lost, 6 birdies on the day. Young at 74. Gets it to hit and stick, nice and close. Ida and Kwan So-yeon, they are both on their 18th and final holes of the day, and they are both sharing the lead at 12 points. He's in third unless one of them is to bogey the last. This opening round competition, that is the 2023 Dongbu Construction KOREIT Land Trust Championship.
딱 그냥 이 정도?
Ida Young around the painted circle for being too close to the camera tower. Just floats that maybe a pace onto the green, and we'll hope that gravity could lend a hand.
근데 이걸 닫아놓고 페이드는 치기도 힘드니까.
Dayan, she does not have a clear look at this, to put it mildly. Here, a couple of ricochets, and somehow that works out probably better than she could have hoped. EA1, she comes into this event as a new major champion, the defending champion on tour, but only 2 points collected today. It's been a relatively quiet and disappointing afternoon for her. You can't fault her for maybe being a little less at it after the emotional roller coaster that I'm sure last weekend was. ENG playing the approach in the penultimate group. She is at 0 points, as is Kim Soo-ji. Yiga Young. This needs to get right. Fails to do so. Straightens out and scoots past. Speaking of Kim Soo-ji, yardage just a bit too much to keep iron out of being pinpoint precise. Be interesting to see her recovery effort. Here's Pak Ji-young. Would have been a birdie, but it wasn't written in the stars. Yet another par. And a much more up and down front nine. The back nine has been a little bit calmer, but all in. Two birdies and 4 bogeys. With a little left to right break. No dice. So she's going to go to negative points, which last week would have been a good thing. Fortunately, can't say the same in Stableford play. Dayan out of the rough, playing her 3rd on 18. She needed a birdie to take the outright lead. A par would have her split it after 18 holes. Unfortunate landing point. And that drop off of the fairway will kick Yiga Young's tee shot into the rough. following suit. It's not an example to try and replicate. It's unfortunate for Park Ji-young. And if we're being quite honest, it has been unfortunate for the 35th and final group today. With everyone on their 18th hole, they are a long way off the top of the leaderboard. EA1 only 1 point, tied for 62nd. Lee Ga-young 2 points, tied for 49th. Park Ji-young, zilch, tied for 72nd. Lee Daeyeon is absolutely the exception in the penultimate group, as Im Jin-hee and Kim Soo-ji are also on the goose egg, while she is tied for first at plus 12. Back to 18, and for Kim Soo-ji, a long way off at the back of the green. Lee Daeyeon, this is her putt to save par. She's taking a little extra time in preparation. Despite that little extra research and thought, it will be a bogey. Genie for birdie. She's gonna have quite the marathon to run to get herself back into contention. It's admittedly got to be a little bit disheartening to see a 0 beside your name. E's feel good, zeros not so much. And she just narrowly sends that astray. She'll settle for a par, and it is indeed nada for her. That dash on 6 just shows that it was more than a double bogey. Doesn't change the score. Pick up the ball, move on. Suji hardly a tap in to save a par. He's going to have to work for this one. It's 6 feet left to right. Overhead, though. It's a bit of a shocker. She's about to relinquish the lead. Makes this its -1. Otherwise, she goes down by 3. Important putt. Settles for bogey. And it's tied for second with a cumulative 11 points. She's not the only one we've seen save a bogey for the bitter end. Still a very good day and has a chance to be one of the leading characters over the course of the next 3 days. Suji is also going into the negative. Just a question of how much. Just the one. Tied for 81st. Double bogey, 2 bogeys, 2 birdies. Comprises her round. And that will be the end of the road for us in the opener of the Dongbu Construction Korea Land Trust Championship on this Thursday. Let's go through the highlights and then we'll cut you loose to enjoy the rest of your Thursday. And we will start on hole number 4. 2 points until Hung Yoo-min made this rather impressive birdie. Give her 2 in the first quartet of holes. 9 is where we head next. The birdie before the turn is a extra sweet feeling. 5 of them, in fact. He's so young. Before heading to the West Course, Lee Dae-yeon, she was at 0 until this tidy little effort just picks this up so gracefully and sends it wonderfully online. Took her 5 holes to get started, but my goodness, did she ever get started. On to 9 next. More from off the green. Similar story. A pitch and a roll through the fringe. And right on the money. Would see her advance to +4 on G1 after 3 consecutive circles. 8 is next, and yes, this trend continues, and we're not complaining because it's been fun to watch. A little dribbler. It is rolling through the fringe at that point instead of skipping through, and Lee Dae-yeon. It's a tip of the cap to see +4. All the way over to hole number 15, 109, and this was Hung Yoo-min. Had been sharing 5th. Glances that off the ribbon. Would have been her eagle. Instead, it's about 4 feet. And she would move into a share of the lead. 18 was dramatic, to put it mildly. Really nice drama for Lee So-young because she had this birdie that she walks in to go to 11 points. 3 in the final 5 holes of the day, and that score would just be pipped. This approach was a thing of beauty, and Bung Shil would have her birdie as well. So it is she, Lee Ji-hyun 7, Lee Da-yeon, and Lee So-young tied for second. Peng Min-ji announced that she wasn't going to be too far off the chasing pace. She was on the wrong green. It was a great approach. Just wanted to be on the right side of green. That would have been for an eagle. Able to tap that one in and end up finishing at +9. Lee Da-yeon, this had been her chance to share the lead, but she pulled it. So instead of two players tied at the top, it is just one. With the outright lead, it would be made official with the bogey. And as mentioned, the two-way tie for runner-up Lee Ji-hyun 7, Peng Shil at +10, and Kwon So-yeon, who is unannounced to us on the 10th hole to start the round, ends up with the best score of this Thursday at +12. Che Gabin also with a respectable day with Chun Ye-sung and Lee Ji-hyun 2 at +8. Chung So-yi leading those at the 7-point score, tied for 12th. The same can be said for Hyun Se-rin +6. The group tied for 17th position. Ha-min Sung also at that +6. Chen Urin and company, they are down at +6. Well, that's it for us today from a great first day of stable Ferd action in Igsun at the Igsun Country Club. Hope you enjoyed it. It's certainly a special event on the calendar. And we'll continue to bring you the live action when we return tomorrow. Same time to begin when we say good afternoon at 2 p.m. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Thursdays, and thanks for joining us. More tomorrow on the LPGA Tour of Korea. Good night, everyone.